Hello and welcome to the Wholesaling and Flipping Houses in New York show. I'm Michael Pinter. I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York. Oh boy, I'm getting notifications now that are from a guy. Okay, so, or if you are already flipping or wholesaling houses in New York, how to grow your business. So I had a question today specifically about the pros and cons of operating in New York City versus the rest of the state. So I operate right outside New York City in Long Island, suburb of New York City. And what are the pros and cons of New York City? So the pros of New York City are that it's incredibly dense and there's an incredible amount of demand. People want to live in New York City. A lot of people work in New York City, and it is a easy place to find buyers for properties, either wholesale buyers or retail buyers. The cons, I think there's a few. So first of all is it's very hard to evict somebody, right? Even now where there's a moratorium, the truth is that it always takes a long time in New York City. It can take 18 months uncontested to get a tenant out of there, out of a property. And even if you don't buy something occupied, if a squatter moves in, you can have the same kind of problem. That's number one. Number two, there is a little more competition in New York City versus the rest of the state. So there's still an unbelievably small amount of competition in New York, even in New York City, but there's more people who do this in New York City than in other places. Just to give you some kind of context, I used to go to the auction in Nassau County every Tuesday. When I started, there were maybe 100 people. When I stopped going 5 years ago, there was maybe 500 people there. But in Queens on Friday, there are thousands of people that come to that auction. They even have to auction it off inside. There's so many people waiting outside that can't get into the courthouse that they will then auction it again and see if anybody wants to pay more outside. So there's a lot more competition. Third thing where it might be a little harder in New York City is that you really got to be careful with your comps because it could be block to block different. There are parts of Queens. I know I've looked at properties in Queens where on one block there could be 10% difference between one block and the next block. So you have to comp it out right. Some blocks are nice. Some parts of the blocks are nicer than others. It's a little funky. So you can't just obviously can't use something like Zillow or Trulia to figure this out. You need to actually really be careful when you comp out properties in New York City. So those are the cons of New York City. But again, there is a pro, and that is that the advantage is that there's more demand in New York City than outside New York City, I would think. Even now, during the pandemic and things, there's still people who want to live in the outer boroughs for sure. So those are the things that make it different in New York City than any other place in New York State. So if you're interested in how I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you like these videos, please click like. This came from a comment, so if you have any questions for videos that you want me to do, feel free to put in a comment below, and I will try and get to them as soon as possible. Thank you very, very much for watching.